Welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast with Noelle Custis, where we ignite the spark to discover your favorite self. It is time to get real, ladies.
What do you have to look forward to? Like, really, if I asked you that question right now, would something immediately come to mind? Something that makes you smile? Something on the calendar that gives you that feeling of, oh my gosh, I can't wait? Or would you have to think about it for a minute? Because lately, I have been thinking a lot about preparing for the hard. I've been living some of the hard. I've been learning about the capacity, grief, change, letting go, and what it means to honor the season we're actually in. But the other day, I had this realization. I don't want to become so good at preparing myself for life's hard moments that I forget to anticipate the beautiful ones. And maybe you don't need a fresh start right now. Maybe you don't need to reinvent your life. Maybe you just need something to look forward to. So that's what we're talking about today. How we remain available to joy when life is changing. How we create anticipation instead of waiting for life to hand it to us. And how we make sure that while we're pouring into ourselves and everyone else's lives, we don't accidentally stop living our own. Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Rise to Shine podcast. I'm your host, Noelle Custis. And as always, I am so incredibly grateful that you're here. Okay. I feel like we have been having some conversations around here lately. If you've been listening, you know, life has been lifing, as they say. And in my life, there has been loss. There has been some grief. There have been business decisions I didn't necessarily expect to be making. There have been a lot of questions. There has been what I would like to call recalibration. I have been learning a lot about capacity and what I actually have the capacity to hold, what I don't, and what I was never supposed to really be carrying in the first place, but I allowed myself to do that. So now I'm walking into another emotional transition because my baby is starting his senior year of high school, which I don't even know if I'm ready to fully unpack this sentence yet, but here's the thing. As I have been moving through all of this summer, something has been bothering me. And that's that my mission has always been about choosing joy. So I've always been about finding the gratitude and creating a life you love, not someday, not when everything finally works out for you, but actually right now. And holy cow, here's the thing. Those beliefs have been tested lately. And I have to really admit that it's easy to talk about choosing joy when joy is easy to find. It's really easy to practice gratitude when everything feels good. But it's different when you're hurting. It's different when you are grieving. It's different when something that you had really hoped for didn't work out. And it's also really different when life is changing faster than you would like it to, because that is exactly where I'm at right now. And I'm going to be really honest because that's what I love to do around here. There have been days recently when the practices I believe in with my whole entire heart have required actual practice. And maybe that's the point. Maybe a belief doesn't become because you say it when life is good. Maybe it becomes yours when you choose to return to it when life isn't good. And that's where this conversation started for me. I realized I don't want to wait until everything feels good again to feel excited about my life. I don't and I can't wait until grief is gone, until everything is clear, until I know exactly what the next chapter looks like, until everybody I love is okay. Because if that ends up being my requirement, or if that ends up being your requirement, when exactly do we get to live? So I had to start asking myself this ridiculously simple question. What am I looking forward to? And I want you to ask yourself that right now. What are you looking forward to? And I don't mean what should you be grateful for, because that's kind of a different question. What I'm asking is, what are you excited about? What is coming that gives you that spark? Maybe if there's a trip or it's just even seeing somebody. Maybe, like for my son, it's a concert. Maybe it's just a Saturday morning that you're looking forward to. Maybe there's a book that's sitting on your nightstand that you have been wanting to read and you haven't yet. Maybe I've been seeing some people redecorating or decorating. Maybe you're going out to dinner on a special night or just even on a Friday night. Maybe you're planning a girls' weekend 6 months from now. It just, what my point is it doesn't have to be huge, right? But I think that we underestimate the power of having something to anticipate. So I want you to think about this. I want you to think about how you feel before a vacation. The vacation doesn't actually start when we arrive or when we get there. Part of the whole experience of a vacation, at least for me, anyways, is beginning before that. Sometimes it's months before that. Because here's the thing, you're deciding where you're going and you're looking at pictures, you research the hotels and the restaurants, and you figure out what you're going to wear, you go on a little shopping spree. You actually start imagining yourself there, wherever it is you're going, and you're talking about it with whoever's going with you. You have this countdown. So you get my point. You start experiencing some of this joy before the thing has ever even happened. That is anticipation. So I started thinking about this and I was like, wow, have some of us stopped anticipating our own lives? Oof, man, that hit me. Have I stopped anticipating my own life? Because we anticipate things for everybody else, right? So I'm already anticipating for my kids different things. I'm anticipating their graduations from college or from, high school. I'm anticipating different milestones that they are going to hit throughout the next year. I also am anticipating all these cool plans that my husband has. We have a vacation coming up in November that I'm anticipating, even just birthdays and some business goals. But I'm thinking about really everybody else's stuff. So, when was the last time you had something on the calendar that was there simply because you just couldn't wait to experience it? Just get curious. I've had to do that for the last few days. And again, this isn't about this really like big overhaul or anything. Maybe you just need something that gives you a little spark back because I had kind of been feeling like I've lost my spark a little bit. And I also want to be careful because I know this exists too on the other side of the coin. I want to be careful here because this isn't going to be about this toxic positivity conversation. I am not telling anyone to ignore what's hard because, hello, it's here, it's real. I'm walking through it in real time. And so I can't ever say that after the season that I've been living in. And I'm not going to tell a grieving woman ever, just choose joy, right? I'm not going to tell someone walking through a crisis to make a gratitude list and to just start getting over it. That is not what I mean. What I'm learning is much more nuanced than that. And I've been learning this, but I feel like I kind of tucked it back for a little bit because choosing joy, and this is what I want to make really, really clear, that choosing joy doesn't mean joy has to be the loudest thing in the room. Because for me, the grief has been louder lately. I have been experiencing some fear that feels a little louder. I have been feeling some quite frankly, exhaustion that's been a little louder, some disappointment that might be a little louder. So, what I mean is that joy and choosing joy can simply mean it's still available to all of it. And that's what I love. I am still available to joy. I can be having a hard day and also simultaneously remain available for something beautiful to happen. So, this could be, an example is I can miss someone terribly, and I can also, a few minutes later, laugh at something really funny. I can be uncertain about my future and still get excited about the dinner that I'm going to have with a friend of mine. I can get super emotional about my kiddos growing up and still be super excited about watching them step into their futures. So one feeling isn't going to cancel out the other. We get to hold both. And I'm really saying that to me is like, we get to. And maybe that's part of what gratitude actually is, because I'm starting to understand gratitude just a little bit. I don't know if it's differently or just a little bit deeper. That gratitude isn't quote unquote, this is hard, but other people have it worse, so I shouldn't be sad. No, I'm not going there. Okay. Because I used to do that. And I know a lot of people that do that. Gratitude is not about guilt. Gratitude is attention. It's being able to say, this is hard, but, and there is still goodness here. This hurts, but this part is beautiful. I wish this were different, but I am grateful for what remains. And I feel like maybe that is more of the practice. It's not forcing ourselves to feel happy, but training, literally training ourselves to continue noticing life. Because that is what I've had to do. And that brings me to something that really stuck with me the other day. I heard someone say this. I was listening to another podcast and I heard someone say, sometimes they were talking about dropping their kids off. And they were talking about how for 18 years, their child was in the back seat. Well, not quite 18 years, but they were saying for 18 years, he's been in the car. He was in the, baby car seat. And then we turned the car seat around and he was in the, I'm losing the name right now, but you know what I'm saying. The booster seat. He's in the booster seat. And then he's like sitting like a big boy in his seat. And then he goes into the front seat. And then he becomes the driver of a car, right? So this dad said, sometimes in order to make our kids' lives bigger, we have to make ours smaller. And oh my gosh, this hit me when I heard him say it, especially right now, because again, I'm walking my youngest child into a senior year, my baby, right? And there are so many emotions that are attached to that because I know that there's going to be a lot of lasts this year. There is going to be the last day of high school, the last day of the homecoming, or I should say the last homecoming, the last holiday as a high school student, all of those milestones, like I was talking about earlier, leading toward graduation, whatever comes next. And here's the thing, if I'm not careful, I could spend an entire year grieving something that hasn't even ended yet. I could sit here and count every last. I could watch the clock. I could keep thinking, only this many months left. And you guys, I did that honestly with leaving our vacation home and our cat that we got to have for 7 weeks, Ninja. I kept thinking, oh my God, every time he would come up to me or I'd hold him, I'd think, oh my gosh, how am I going to leave him? And I kept this countdown going. And it was like making it worse because, like, for my son, if I do that, I have actually then spent his senior year anticipating losing it instead of actually living it. And I do not want to do that because I recognized just simply with the cat that I made it worse. So I want to be here. I want to savor all of it. And when I heard that idea that sometimes we make our lives smaller so our children's lives can get bigger, part of me, like I said, it hit me hard because part of me understood it immediately because motherhood absolutely requires sacrifice. And there have been seasons when my wants moved down the list because my children needed me. And there have been seasons when their dreams required my time, my resources, my energy, and I would make many of those choices again in a heartbeat, no problem. But here's the thing. Then I thought about this. Does my life actually have to get smaller for his to get bigger? Different? Absolutely. Do I have to rearrange things possibly? Yeah, probably. But smaller? I started to think, no, I don't think so. And I think that that was an important distinction that I had to make because making room for someone we love doesn't have to mean disappearing. Sacrifices does not have to become erasing ourselves, right? This just and this isn't just about motherhood, friends. So if you are, not a mom, I want you to think about how many of us have slowly just kind of made our lives smaller, whether it be for our families or maybe it's for your career, maybe it's for your aging parents, maybe it is for relationships, responsibilities, whatever it's for. It's not because anyone's demanding that of us necessarily, maybe for some. And it's not even because we actually decide that. We're not like, oh, I'm going to just stop living my life. No, life just got full. And so then what we did is we stopped doing some of the things that made us feel alive. We stopped dreaming. We stopped trying some of those new things and we stopped calling our friends. We slowed down on the travel. We maybe weren't wearing all the cute clothes anymore because we were just like, who cares? We stopped making plans. And then here's what we stopped doing. Some of us, we stopped asking ourselves, what sounds fun to me? What sounds fun to me? And then I think this is what happens is we start to look around and we realize that we've become incredibly good at supporting everybody else's life. But we're not quite sure what we're excited about in our own. And that's where I think, okay, it's time to pay attention. It's time to pay attention. So here's what I'm beginning to believe. Maybe this isn't about me making my life smaller. Maybe it's asking me to become more intentional about what I make it full of. How do I make this life beautiful and full, even through the hard, even through the seasons, even through, when we're potentially, and I'm saying this in quotes, like losing our kiddos because they're growing up and we're not losing them, by the way, but you know what I mean. And that's when I was like, ding, ding, ding. This is what curation is. You guys, I love that word curation. You know that. I love because I do feel like I'm a curator and I do love that. I love to curate because curate isn't stuffing as much as possible into a space. It's like choosing specifically what belongs, what doesn't belong, right? I want a little bit more of this. Let's sprinkle a little bit more of that. I'm ready to release this. I want this feeling. I want these people. I want these rhythms in my life because they're working. I want to experience this. We get to do that in our lives. It doesn't always look perfect, but we cannot curate our way out of loss. We cannot control every single circumstance around us. And here's the thing, we can't prevent people from getting sick or children from growing up or relationships from changing. We can't control all that. We can't prevent it. That is just part of life. But we do have a way, and we have the agency in how we participate in the life that we're given right now. And one of those choices is deciding, what do I want to make room for now? So last week I was talking about capacity on the podcast, and we talked about what we're carrying and what we might need to put down. Well, if we're making room for something, what are we making room for? And for me, I recognized in the last couple of days that I really want some of that room to be for joy again. And here are the things that I have been saying out loud just in the last couple of days that I really want again. I want to make room for connection. I want to make room for some adventure and creativity, definitely purpose. I need to find ways to laugh again. And like, I'm talking like a full belly laugh. And honestly, I want to do things that I can make a crap ton of money, but I also want to do things that don't make any money and I just have fun doing them. Because I'm like, can we please start to normalize having hobbies that don't become businesses? I feel like, and again, I'm with a lot of entrepreneurs, so I feel like it's all about like turning that into something. But yeah, you can go out and paint and it can look terrible. You can still go out and take a dance class. Go out and learn pickleball. Why not? Everybody else is doing it and they're loving it. Go back to reading again. We don't need to monetize everything. Sometimes you just get to do things because you just like it. What a concept. Sometimes I forget that, so I'm talking to myself too. And then this is where I want to make this practical because you don't have to wait for life to hand you something like super uber exciting. You're just allowed to create something that you look forward to. So think about this right now. What if you had something to look forward to tomorrow? What if you had something to look forward to next week or next month? Something maybe even a little further out. And here's what I mean by that, because I was even talking to my mother-in-law and my daughter about this the other day as we were getting ready to leave. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know how long it is until I'm going to see you guys again, right? So we were talking about let's put something on the calendar every single month so we have something to look forward to and we can anticipate that. So let's say, tomorrow can be, I'm going to get my favorite coffee and I'm just going to sit outside for 20 minutes. Ooh, I don't know about you, but I am not even kidding when I tell you, I literally anticipate it. I anticipate my coffee the next morning. This is why you always see coffee pictures of me because I love my morning coffee. That's it. Like, that's what I'm looking forward to tomorrow morning. Well, tomorrow morning, I'm actually looking forward to travel because I'm going to my niece's graduation. But, anyways, that's another story. But so I'm just saying, pick something tomorrow, something that you get to look forward to. And then next week, maybe it's something like I'm having dinner with my girlfriends. And then next month can be we're going somewhere for the weekend. And then further out, maybe you don't have anything yet, but maybe that's where you let yourself dream. Maybe you set a goal for yourself, or maybe you have a trip or an experience or, I don't know, a project or something you've wanted to do. Maybe it's even something that stretches you just enough that thinking about it makes you get excited. Because your dream life isn't only made up of dreams you accomplish, you guys. It's also made up of moments you can't wait to experience. And I want to remind you that some of the most beautiful moments in our lives are going to be tiny. We talked about that in one of the last podcasts, that 95% of our life is made up of ordinary Tuesdays, not the big moments. And that's what I don't want us to miss. We think anticipation requires like the trip to Hawaii. I love Hawaii. Please take me to Hawaii. I'm really ready to go right now. But anticipation can also be pancake Sunday morning with the people you love. Because all of your life stuff is going to happen there too. Your favorite life is not waiting exclusively inside of all of the massive milestones. Again, it's being built on those ordinary Tuesdays. And maybe this is the biggest reminder that I need right now. Here it is. I don't want to pre-grieve. I don't even know if that's like a word, but I don't want to pre-grieve my life. I don't want to look at my son's senior year and spend the entire time thinking about graduation. I don't want to look at people I love and immediately think about someday losing them. because I have been doing that a lot lately. I don't want to experience something beautiful and simultaneously start to grieve about the ending of it. Because I'm telling you, I know this. Like, I know this to be true. And again, I know it's going to happen sometimes. I'm a mom, I'm emotional. Ask my kids. I'm going to cry. My son's best friend just came over today, as a matter of fact, who's lived across the street from us forever for the last, I don't know, 10 years. And literally, I see her all the time. She is like my second daughter, and she's going off to college on Friday. So, yeah, I'm gonna cry over things. And I know that there's going to be probably a ridiculous amount of crying this year. I know that, and that's okay. But what I don't want is the anticipation of an ending to actually steal the experience of what is still here with me right now. And maybe some of you mamas out there need that reminder too. Don't miss what you still have because you're afraid of the day you won't have it anymore. Oh, just getting emotional over here because it's true. Be here. Take the pictures. Sit at the table. Have those conversations. Go on the trip. See? Make the memories. For goodness sake, say I love you a lot. And then keep creating, keep dreaming, and keep giving yourself something else to look forward to because your life isn't ending every time a season ends. It's just changing. And here's the thing, we get to change with it. Goodness, see, I told you there's gonna be a lot of tears, but these are not just sad tears, these are happy tears. So I want to ask you the same question I asked at the beginning. What are you looking forward to? Maybe now I'm hoping that you're thinking about it differently. And maybe there's already something on your calendar that's amazing. And I'm just going to say, anticipate the heck out of it. Enjoy the lead up to it. Talk about it, dream about it, let yourself be excited. And if your answer is, Noelle, I don't know, then maybe this is your invitation this week to create something. And again, it doesn't have to be like this huge, impressive thing. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It might not even make sense to anybody else. I don't know. Just give yourself something that reminds you, I am still participating in my life because that's what I want for myself too. That's exactly what I want. I'm going to walk through this senior year. I'm going to let my son's world become enormous. I'm going to cheer my kids on. I'm going to savor all the lasts. I'm going to still celebrate all the firsts for both of them. I'm going to cry when I need to cry. And I'm also going to continue building my own life and hold me accountable to that. If you notice that I start to slip, I'm okay with that. But I have to find things that make me excited about what's coming because I am not going to disappear and neither are you. So, man, I just feel like this is where I get to kind of wrap all of this up. And maybe you don't need a fresh start. Maybe you don't need to become this like different person. Maybe you do. But what I'm saying is we don't have to know what's next. We just need something to look forward to. And again, reminding ourselves that the heart is allowed to be here. It just does not get to have all of me. It doesn't. I am still, and you are still available for joy. I am still available for possibility. I'm still here. And there is so much more life to live. And I hope with all of my heart that this is reaching someone out there feeling the same. And if this episode made you think of another woman, just send it to her and maybe text her or ask her the question, what are you looking forward to? And if neither one of you has an answer, maybe you start creating something together. All right, my friends. Thank you for spending this time with me today. And of course, what I want to end with is keep rising, keep shining, and know your best day is right here waiting for you. I will see you next week. Bye, my friends.
Thanks for joining me here today. Your presence means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider leaving a rating and review, and don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Head to the show notes and let's connect. Rise to Shine Co. is ready to support you in coaching, collaboration, life tips, or even a coffee chat. Until next time, keep shining, my friends.